Back to the Beginning was a historic moment within music history, with performances from some of the largest bands ever known to man, and touted as the final show of Ozzy Osbourne. And at that time, we didn't think we were going to lose Ozzy so early, but only 17 days later, he passed on. So view tonight's episode as my tribute to him, as we cover the guitars in this final show. This concert started with Mastodon. Now, they're known with Bill Kelleher of having a whole bunch of Norland-era Les Pauls, but he's also known for having other brands make guitars for him. They played the 3 songs Black Tongue, Blood and Thunder, and Supernaut, which is their cover of a Black Sabbath song. But this is looking like one of his signature ESP LTDs, in this really cool military green sunburst hue. I'm sure there's different levels to this exact guitar, but it seems those are relatively affordable if you want to pick one up over on Reverb. But this RD-looking guitar appears to be known as the Sparrowhawk, and looks like his main guitar that he was using here, although his looks like it's all just one color there, maybe an aged Pelham Blue. Next up we had Rival Sons doing Do Your Worst, Electric Funeral, as well as Secret. So first thing I'm noticing here is that's some non-traditional looking stuff here. Let's see if we can find a good close-up. It looks like some sort of a Gretsch something or other. Here's a much better look at this guitar. Definitely has some classic car elements built in there. You've got the Bigsby, looks like Filtertron style like pickups. That's the one I was thinking about. They definitely just took the Gretsch stylings and made it a new boutique type thing. But there we go. I think we found Scott's guitar, known as a Mellow Duned B-Bones electric guitar. That's certainly a unique one with your old radio style knobs too. It's just blended in with car and guitar culture. But that headstock really reminds me of some ESPs, especially that Miku that we did once. And if you wanted even more confirmation, that's on the Reverb listing. Him there with the guitar. Next, we're getting heavier with Anthrax. They played Indians and Into the Void, which things start off quite colorfully here. And we've got multiple guitarists to focus on here, but let's go with Scott over here with his interesting slime green V. While he does have signature Jacksons with a green burst, I'm not quite seeing the burst on that one, so I think we need to look a little closer. It seems he has quite a few similar guitars there. Here's one that has a pick guard and is more of a yellowish color. But rest assured, it was some sort of a Jackson. As in one of his next songs, he switched over to one with a pick guard that has the Black Beauty influence to it. And shout out to that really loud purple bass. But now we've got Halestorm performing Love Bites, Rain Your Blood on Me, and Perry Mason. Lizzie's one of the female brand ambassadors for Gibson, so I'm very well versed in this one. That's her signature Explorer bird. We've got a full review and documentation of one right here. It was her idea of blending an Explorer with a non-reverse Firebird's headstock and having this really bright red lipstick style finish on it. Unfortunately, these things have not sold too crazily well, but the inlays are pretty cool on this guitar because they're slightly reflective, and I don't think enough people realize that. Even I forget it half the time. But they're certainly a statement piece, to say the least. Both Lizzie and Joe have really cool guitars. I mean, look at him over here playing a really nice Flying V Custom. That's the crazy thing about stage lighting. I thought that was black, but no, it's actually a Green Widow. I was able to find a photo of it over on their Instagram page. They sprayed the entire thing over in green, so that's why it looks like you have the green binding. It's just been painted over. Then they clear coat over top of that to make it nice and neat. He spec'd it out with custom buckers. And of course, you get the matching headstock. This band's always changing guitars, though. Let's see our next song. Looks like we've got some sort of a metallic green, maybe Access Les Paul custom, but I'm betting I found that custom here. So it's not an Access, but man, that's such a nice jewel green finish. That is gorgeous. But that's just a regular Les Paul custom. However, it's probably either a 57 and or a 68 reissue spec because it's got the true ABR1 and it's got the aging to the finish on top of that. While looking for that, yes, I was able to confirm that's 68 spec on that custom. But then they end it out with a couple of other special guitars. So that's looks like an SG custom. I think I've seen that one before. And then we've got Lizzie's own Pink Sparkle Explorer. And I found the Explorer first. I'm really hoping this becomes a new signature release out of the custom shop because just look at that. Super pink sparkly. It's got her characteristic golden pick guard. Then the Super 400 inlays just for fun. That's a great one. And here we go. I found the green SG. It's hanging up by all of his other green guitars. But yes, we can confirm that's an SG custom now in more of a lime green finish. If you learn nothing else, the Halestorm guys have some awesome guitars. But now we're getting really heavy with Lamb of God playing Laid to Rest, Redneck, and Children of the Grave. Why is the guitarist always got to be on the side of the stage that I can't see? So that's Willie Adler. He's playing his own signature guitar that's from ESP. It was definitely one of these two, because I remember seeing that as he's slightly walking on by here. So I think we figured that one out. But whoo! That's a pricey guitar, $10,000 brand new. It's got that skeleton warbird going on, a very distressed finish. Then we've got kind of interesting little inlays here. Looks like a bird beak with some sort of a crossbones-like structure. And then here's our distressed headstock. And he's still playing that over here when we go to their final song. But here comes the other guitarist, Mark Morton. He's been flirting around with Gibson a while, and that looks like one of his prototype guitars. Here's an up-close look at that from his Instagram page. Kind of a trans black. I know they were also working on a flame top red one. That courtship has taken some time. I'm not sure if it's still happening or not, but we might see Mark Morton signatures from Gibson in the near future. This was certainly some good exposure of it for everyone. But next up, they had a super group join together to perform Ultimate Sin. Oh boy, we're gonna have a lot to consider here. All right, so we got Nuno over here playing, I would assume, one of his signature guitars. Apparently, there's some talk about him launching his own guitar brand. In this grab, you can just barely make out the Nuno branding right there. That's a pretty sweet looking guitar. But then we've got Jake E. Lee. I mean, this is basically the who's who of concerts. So yeah, surprise, surprise. It's going to be their own signature guitar. But this is a Charvel guitar, and what's unique about this release is it's kind of Hendrixified with the slanted pickup in the opposite orientation than usual. I know I've had one of these before, but I must not have did the review and documentation. It must have just been a quick unboxing or something. But it had a cool pearlescent white finish. And we'll skip ahead a little bit. Jack Black had a featuring with Mr. Crowley that apparently was pre-recorded. Obviously, you've got your polka dot flying V over there. That's an homage to Randy Rhoads, the Sandoval polka dot flying V. It's got his little bow tie inlays. I never noticed that before. There have been teases of Les Paul customs being made in that finish here shortly. We'll have to see if that ever comes to fruition. But we'll move through our set list down here to Alice in Chains next for Wood, Man in the Box, and Fairies Wear Boots. So we should have Jerry Cantrell up here on the stage using one of his Stratocasters. Unfortunately, I'm not well versed in them. I was hoping he'd be playing the Wino Les Paul custom. Take this easy on me. But okay, probably some sort of a GNL Rampage from what I can find online. We can see some slightly better up-close shots of it right here. I'd be willing to bet it's probably his blue dress version due to the matching symbols and super dark yellow finish there. And he seems to have just stuck with that for the entire set. Next, we have Gojira with 4 songs. We've got a pretty cool reflective jazz master looking thing here. That's cool. Only one humbucker in the bridge. Reversed headstock. That looks like ESP. There we go. I found Joe's guitar. It's got an Evertune on it as well. That thing's fun. What a great stage guitar. Totally a pain in the butt to keep clean, but who cares when you're a rock star? But then we've got one more guitar we need to take a sneak peek of. Would you turn around a little bit, please, Christian? Getting closer. Come on, you can do it. That appears to be the closest we're going to get. It looks like he has a signature series with Jackson, and that seems to vaguely match up. It's kind of hard to see. It's got the reversed headstock. I bet it's right, just in a different color. But it appears we do have some guitar switches, some more Flying V fun shenanigans over there, and what looks like some sort of a Telecaster. There's a really cool shot of his signature Flying V. And while the headstock shot looks familiar, that looks like 2 humbuckers to me. And that seems to line up, so that is going to be a Charvel Telly. That is his own signature. Wow. It's like a troublemaker. It's got the Tune-O-Matic and stop bar, but only a single volume control if I were to guess. But yeah, sure enough, 2 humbuckers. To be honest, it reminds me a lot of some of like, I think they call it the PT fastbacks out of the Schecter lineup, because they got these obnoxiously large inlays. But hey, you're on a dark stage. I get it. This style of Telly definitely better fits their music. And then we had a whole super group of a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Morello always has something crazy going on for his guitars. It looks like he's got the Arm the Homeless one. Oh, is that an Adam Jones signature sitting right there on the stage? We've got Nuno over there again. Yep, we can now confirm our little hippos on the guitar. And yes, you heard me right. There's little hippos on that guitar. Whether you want to dive too deep into what all that means, I just always thought that was fun. Oh, and no wonder we had a silver burst on stage. Adam Jones is there. He's hiding behind the camera. We got Billy Corgan coming on in here. And then, oh, we've got some sort of a cool double pickguard flying V over here. I found a slightly better photo of KK here holding it. It's no medallion flying V, but I like the whole double white pickup situation going on, and we've got some interesting inlays. And oh wow, looking even closer, that appears to be a scalloped fretboard. Just the entire thing. A lot of guys, they just scallop up here for the meedly-weedly solos, but no, he's definitely got some control in those fingers. But being one of the initial members of Judas Priest, I would expect nonetheless. But it does appear that he's had some signature hammers in the past. But I was able to find it. The brand is KXK. You can see him listed on their website. But we're going to jump down to Pantera now. They had Cowboys from Hell, Walk, Planet Caravan, and Electric Funeral. Whoa, there we go. We get Zakk Wylde over here with his Wild Audio brand of guitars. I mean, to be fair, if you can't have Dimebag Darrell with us anymore, Zakk Wylde is a fantastic stand-in. But let's see if we can learn more about this guitar. Dimebag Darrell utilized something that had a very similar color scheme to it, the dark and light blue with the electric. So Zakk's Wild Audio is a partnership with Schecter under his own brand, and this is known as the Warhammer. It's got the SG up top and the V on the bottom. Previous to his own, he actually worked with Gibson. There is something called an SGV. It's a bit of an abomination, but they do exist in his regular bullseye pattern, as well as the crazy buzzsaw and that custom color gunmetal gray I have. We already covered Tool a little bit, but Adam Jones is a bit of a gearhead. Now, it looks like rather than his signature model this time, he's actually playing one of his true vintage ones here. So, circa 1979 Les Paul Custom in Silverburst, that'll get you close enough. But now we're getting to the big dogs. We've got Slayer with a whole plethora of songs. Let's see what we can figure out here. Kerry King onto the stage throwing things at the audience. We've got some sort of a weird chopped off flying V upside down thing. Apparently it's called the Pope from Sentuous Guitars, something like that. Must have been a signature thing. They've got 3 of these things to sell according to this Instagram page. It's certainly an interesting look, but I think there's probably a reason why only 3 will ever be made. But King, I believe he's still a Dean signed artist. I mean, he's got a whole bunch of them, from these earwig type things to other crazy shapes. Focusing solely on what we see here, that looks like the earwig, officially known as the Kerry King V, but it just looks like those creepy crawly bugs. It's a flying V that has, I guess you could say, an eagle beak at the end, and they match the same by modifying the Dean headstock. You certainly have to have stage presence like his to pull that off. But this one appears to just be completely blacked out. Could be a custom one made just for him. But hey, right there, that's what it's all about. Hearing protection, very important at a place like that. But it looks like we've swapped over into a different paint scheme over here. And hey, come back here, mister. We've got some sort of an ESP over here. So let's do some digging to see what Gary might be playing there. Because we've got some sort of a emblem right there. I mean, he's got a whole bunch of signature Eclipse guitars. That's how you would find the Les Paul version of an ESP. Just search Eclipse or EC. But here we go. I found a photo of it on his Instagram page. It reads Officer Holt. Yeah, that's probably custom for him, would be my guess. Could be wrong. That seems rather fitting for him. And it's got really cool red binding, unless it's just the flames reflecting off of it. And that seems to back up with what I'm seeing here. But another heavy hitter, here's Guns N' Roses. So you know what that means? We've got Slash up here on stage. And what on earth? Is that an SG? Slash, you don't play SGs. What is that? That's hilarious. That he probably did that intentionally because Tony Iommi and the original Black Sabbath utilizing that. Let's see, do we got a close-up? Whoa, it's actually appears to be a dark blue unless it's just reflecting stage lights. Let's see, uncovered pickups, that's kind of his thing. That looks like a 61. Well, you know what, it's probably more like a 64 style because it only has the one single pick guard there. This new photo definitely looks a little bit more black. That had to have been custom made for this concert. However, there was a cool lamp black edition once that had P90 pickups, but this is more 68 style with the 64 vibrola. It's not exactly the same. But you could take something like the Sweetwater exclusive TV black and gold SG to get something similar, just remove the pickup covers, and that'll get you fairly close. And then for the next song, sure enough, another Ozzy tribute, so he kept with the SG, but he couldn't hold out too long. He then switched back to a Les Paul. Fortunately, the footage of this one's just not really good enough to tell which one of those that is. But during Welcome to the Jungle, that looks like the original Jessica to me with the uncovered pickups, which is a late 80s Gibson Les Paul standard, of which Gibson USA makes a version of that guitar today. But now we're moving on to Metallica, doing all their best songs and tributes. Kirk Hammett actually gave me the idea for this one because it was the same mind-blown moment when I saw him playing an SG. But his is just so weird and fantastic. I had to look into it. Because look at it. You get the Super 400 inlays with the ebony fretboard, some sort of a translucent silver hue. It looks like it could be a new signature model like an SG Supreme. However, look really closely onto the truss rod cover. It's blurry, but that says CEO 4. The only way to get that guitar is if you're the Gibson CEO and you make it and brand it as such. So who's Gibson CEO? Well, that's Cesar over here. Yep. That's one of his builds. Now, it looks like Kirk ended up signing it. If I remember correctly, they auctioned it off or something like that for charity. That's how most of the CEO things go. But he's been making a whole lot of these. Like this says number 6, 7, 8, and 9 over here. They're basically all Supreme influenced other things. Maybe they'll become a signature run, maybe not. He's just having fun. And while we're over here, here's those Sandoval style Les Pauls I was talking about earlier, as well as a custom Flying V with a regular Les Paul style headstock as CEO number 8. And there we go. Yeah, it's Gives and Gives that they auctioned them off for. Personally, I think this Explorer looks good enough to bring into production. And oh, there's that completed Les Paul custom, as well as a very unusual acoustic. But then he quickly switches over into some of his other more iconic guitars. And you got James over there with his white Flying V, which despite saying Gibson actually started life as an Electra, if it's the original one anyway. Looks like lately he's been rocking one that just says Hetfield on the top. But this S-style guitar is made by ESP and it's called Joker Surfs because, well, it's got the Joker on there and he's got a surfboard. Beautifully matching for Hammett. Looks pretty cool on stage too. Oh man, and Trujillo over here having a really cool purple neck through bass. I know we said guitars, but we can include a bass guitar. It looks like he has a signature model with Warwick. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Looks like they got the Metallica logo at the 12th fret, but nice purple, black neck through. It looks a little bit small, but it looks like he's wielding it perfectly fine. He's just a phenomenal bassist. Oh, and here's another good up close look at our white Flying V. Lars over here banging away on the drums. We're just having a good time looking at guitars tonight. I was trying to see if it says Hetfield up there. Nah, I think it says Electra, but I could be wrong. Looks like next he brought out Greenie. I mean, the footage isn't the best. Then Hetfield brought out one of his ESP Explorers. And then we get the Ozzy Osbourne band, where they wheeled Ozzy out for the first time for everyone's delight. But we've covered this a little bit before. We get the return of Zakk Wylde over here with his own brand, wearing a kilt. That appears to be one of his Warhammer, this time the bullseye design though. I thought it would have been really cool for him to bring out the original Grail. But outside of switching over to an acoustic guitar, which, yeah, that's not my specialty. Oh, then he goes to that. What is that one called? It still has the pointiness over here, but it's a little bit smaller. I believe that works more closely to his Nomad design. You know, I kind of like that. It's a blending of a lot of different things. And it's kind of cool how you get the natural mahogany wood with the red top, but then I would assume the back is also just natural. Nope, they put the Cocobolo on the back too. That is kind of cool. But this one's just a regular maple-topped version with the bullseye design. And then he brings out a red Warhammer. He must like that design the best. And then the Big Mac Daddy, Black Sabbath, the reason why we did all this in the first place. So we've got Ozzy coming out, and we also have Tony Iommi. So he's got one of his custom SGs here first, which if I were to guess, it's probably one of his JD custom guitars. Now don't get me wrong, he's got Gibson signatures, such as this custom shop one with the same cross inlays. I believe they're silver or something like that. But that was early 2000s, very early stuff for custom shop SGs and signature models in general. They're very expensive and hard to find. We've also reviewed some of the Gibson USA versions they did at that time. And then don't forget about the Monkey SGs. There were Gibson USAs as well as the custom shop recreations, which we documented all of. And it seems that guitar holds him true for pretty much the entire concert as far as I can see. He's the reason why those two other iconic players were using SGs in this concert. But there we go. Hopefully that's at least 80% of the guitars used at the Back to the Beginning festival. That is my tribute to Ozzy. Rest in peace. I know it's long overdue. His passing was just too big of news. I didn't really want to have this be a timely video. I wanted to give people time to mourn. And hopefully we can view this video as just fun talking about guitars now. But alright, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.